The overhead bins rattled violently as turbulence rocked the plane. A few bags shifted inside, the latches straining. Nervous laughter broke out from a couple of rows up, but the real storm wasn't outside in the clouds. It was in row 27. A man in a faded gray hoodie sat crammed into the narrow economy seat. His shoulders were too broad for the tight space, forcing him to hunch slightly so his arms didn't bump his neighbors. On either side of him pressed two small girls. They looked identical at first glance, same long brown hair tied into messy ponytails, same round cheeks, same wide hazel eyes, but anyone who looked closer would see the differences. On his right, Lily clutched a stuffed rabbit with ears so frayed they looked like unraveling ribbons. She chewed her lip as the plane shook, eyes darting toward the window as if the clouds themselves might reach in. On his left, Rose tucked her cheek against his arm, hugging a teddy bear with one missing button eye. She was quieter, but the tremble of her small hands betrayed her fear. Their father, Daniel Hayes, kept an arm snug around each of them. His hands were large, roughened from years of work, but gentle as he rubbed their shoulders in slow, steady circles. His face carried the exhaustion of sleepless nights and endless sacrifices, but his eyes, dark, sharp, protective, never wavered. To most of the passengers around him, he looked like nothing special. A struggling single dad, maybe even broke, barely holding things together. His hoodie was worn, his boots scuffed, his jeans faded. The kind of man, people whispered, who didn't belong on the same flight as them. A woman in pearls leaned toward her husband in row 26. She didn't bother to lower her voice. "Economy's full of people who shouldn't even be flying," she muttered. Her husband snorted, glancing at Daniel's boots. "Probably spent his last dime on this ticket. Look at him. Doesn't even fit the seat." A few others smirked. A young man across the aisle pulled out his phone, holding it low as if he were texting, but the lens was aimed squarely at Daniel. He smirked to himself, no doubt already planning to post a video with some mocking caption. Daniel heard every word, every stifled laugh. His jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. Not here. Not now. He wasn't on this flight to win anyone's approval. He was here because his daughters had begged him for months to take them to see the ocean for the very first time. He had promised them, and promises were sacred. The plane lurched again. Lily squeaked, gripping her rabbit tighter. "Daddy, I'm scared," she whispered, her voice trembling. Daniel pressed a kiss to the top of her head. "Remember what we talked about, sweetheart. Brave like the rabbit." Rose peeked up at him, clutching her teddy bear. "And me too? Brave like the bear?" Daniel smiled softly. "Especially you. Both of you are my brave girls." The twins exchanged a look, identical brows furrowed in determination. They nodded, snuggling closer against him. But the whispers didn't stop. Someone 2 rows back chuckled. "He's singing lullabies in turbulence. Pathetic." Another voice muttered, "Bet he can't even afford a hotel when they land." Daniel kept his eyes forward, but his hands pressed tighter around his daughters. He had endured worse insults. What mattered was keeping the girls calm. 10 minutes later, everything changed. The intercom crackled, followed by the captain's calm but serious voice. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing a minor systems issue. Please remain calm. Flight crew, standard protocol." The cabin lights flickered once, twice. The plane jolted hard enough that drinks sloshed in cups, and one bag tumbled from the overhead bin with a thud. Gasps filled the air. The toddler in row 29 wailed. Rose whimpered, burying her face against Daniel's chest. Lily clutched his arm so tightly her small nails dug into his sleeve. "Shh," he whispered, kissing the tops of their heads. "I've got you, both of you. Nothing's going to happen while Daddy's here." And unlike everyone else, he didn't panic. His posture shifted subtly. His back straightened, his eyes scanning the cabin. He took in the location of the exits, the tension in the crew, the sounds of the engines. His entire demeanor changed from tired single dad to something sharper, steadier. Passengers noticed. The woman in pearls frowned, glancing back. The young man with the phone lowered it slightly, puzzled. Then one of the flight attendants hurried down the aisle, speaking urgently into her radio. Her gaze swept the rows, her expression tight with stress. When her eyes landed on Daniel, she froze mid-step. Her posture changed instantly, shoulders back, spine straight. She stopped at row 27, her voice crisp and formal. "Sir, we may need your guidance." The word seemed to echo. "Sir." Passengers blinked in disbelief. A murmur spread. Was she really speaking to him? Daniel gave Lily and Rose a reassuring squeeze before meeting the attendant's eyes. His voice, when he spoke, was calm but commanding. "Show me what's happening." The aisle fell silent. Even the crying toddler quieted. Every head turned toward him. "Daddy, what's happening?" Rose whispered. Daniel brushed her hair back gently. "Nothing you need to worry about, sweetheart. Stay brave, like we said." The attendant's voice faltered. "Sir, the captain requested you at the front. If you are on board, protocol says." She stopped herself, biting her lip. She had already said too much. The woman in pearls stiffened. "Protocol? Who is he?" she hissed to her husband. Her husband muttered something about the military. Daniel stood slowly, easing Lily and Rose back into their seats. He placed their toys carefully into their laps. "Hold on to these for me. Be brave for Daddy." Lily swallowed hard but nodded. Rose hugged the teddy bear tight. "Come back fast," she whispered. He brushed a kiss to each of their foreheads. "Always." As he stepped into the aisle, the second attendant straightened at once, her voice lowering with respect. "Sir, welcome aboard." The murmur grew. Passengers leaned into the aisle to watch him walk forward. The man in the designer suit who had mocked him earlier sat back quickly, suddenly silent. At the cockpit door, the captain turned, his expression flickering with relief. "Major Hayes," he said quietly, "didn't know you were flying today." Gasps rippled through the cabin. "Major." Daniel's jaw flexed. He hadn't heard that title in years. "What's the situation?" The captain explained quickly an electrical fault had knocked out one of the secondary navigation systems. It wasn't catastrophic yet, but if it spread, it could compromise control. The crew was rattled, and the passengers were panicking. "Having you here," the captain admitted, "it changes everything." Daniel nodded once. "I'll calm the cabin. Keep me updated every 5 minutes. Understood?" "Yes, sir," the captain replied instantly. When Daniel returned to the cabin, whispers chased him. Passengers craned their necks, their faces a mix of shock and shame. The man they had mocked for his hoodie and scuffed shoes was someone else entirely. He stopped midway down the aisle, his voice carrying easily. "Ladies and gentlemen, everything is under control. The crew is following protocol, and I'm here to make sure you're safe. So breathe. Hold your loved ones close. Panicking helps no one." The authority in his tone silenced the cabin. Even the toddler hushed, as if soothed by the calm in his words. When Daniel slid back into his seat, Lily immediately reached for his hand. "Daddy, are we okay?" Yes, he said softly. Then, smiling faintly, but let's do something kind, too. See that boy across the aisle? The twins followed his gaze. A boy their age sat clutching a video game console like a shield, tears streaking his face. His mother whispered frantically, clearly terrified herself. Lily and Rose looked down at their toys. Lily's rabbit, Rose's teddy, their treasures. Daniel's voice was gentle. Your rabbit and your bear made you brave. Maybe they can help him, too. The twins looked at each other. Lily's lip trembled. Rose hugged her teddy tighter. They had never shared their toys with strangers before. But then they saw the boy's sobs shaking his shoulders. Slowly, together, they stood. Lily placed the rabbit gently in his lap. Rose tucked the teddy into his arms. The boy blinked. His sobs slowed. He hugged the toys as if they were lifelines. His mother's eyes filled with tears as she mouthed, "Thank you." Passengers shifted uncomfortably. Some looked ashamed. Others simply stared at the twins in awe. The atmosphere began to change, fear softening into something else, respect. Daniel pulled his daughters close, kissing their hair. That's my brave girls. And for the first time since the turbulence began, Lily and Rose smiled. Rain stitched the late afternoon into gray curtains as Anna reached the farmhouse, suitcase dragging, heartbeat louder than thunder tonight. A friend of a friend had whispered about a widower here, needing help, maybe a cook, maybe mercy to survive. She knocked, knuckles stinging, and waited while wind rattled loose shutters and muddy water braided paths across flagstones at dusk. The door opened a careful width. A tall man watched, lantern low, eyes cautious, shoulders carrying invisible, unshared weight alone. Behind him, two little faces hovered along the staircase shadows, twins measuring the stranger like wary, curious songbirds at dusk. I was told you needed a cook, Anna said, voice steadying itself against cold silence and the lantern's flicker tonight. He studied her suitcase, the mud on her hem, the grit in her jaw, and breathed through doubt before answering. I don't remember asking, he said, though something softer crossed his face when the twins leaned further forward to listen. Just one meal, she offered. Work for food and shelter. And if you dislike it, I will leave before morning. The girls whispered, Please, Daddy, please. And his shoulders eased enough to move aside and let warmth in this time. The kitchen smelled of onions, wood smoke, and faint neglect. Pans waited like old dogs hoping for new commands from somebody. Anna worked fast, sleeves rolled, hands remembering recipes learned from scarcity, turning scraps into supper with patience and practiced grace. Steam lifted, and the twins drifted closer, mirror faces brightening, breaths synced, elbows touching like practiced choreography of small courage. I'm Lily. This is Rose, the bold one said, while the quieter one nodded, clutching her threadbare rabbit very close. Will you stay? Asked Rose, almost whispering, as if sound might shatter the fragile possibility forming here tonight for dinner. Daniel sat at the head, arms crossed, eyes counting risks, but the first bite slowed something behind them at last. He nodded once, which in that kitchen felt louder than applause, and the twins grinned crumbs everywhere between candlelight breaths. After dishes, Anna set water to boil for tea as rain deepened outside and windows gathered silver rivers of patience. You can have the couch, Daniel said, voice cautious, as if hospitality might invite disaster and obligations echo inside him. Anna thanked him by cleaning the stovetop until it shone, leaving kindness where thanks would only bruise something still hurting. Morning rose pale and damp, The house smelled different, less hollow, as bread woke inside the oven with humble pride. The girls arrived barefoot, hair lopsided, carrying napkins like flags of truce, ready for buttered peace at the breakfast table. Daniel watched from the doorway, something wary, uncurling, like a stray dog deciding maybe this yard remembers kindness these days. Anna mended Rose's rabbit later, needle-biting cloth, thread-tugging grief tight, small repair echoing larger ache inside them all. Lily announced the rabbit's bravery rating had improved and laughed when Daniel saluted, surrendering to delighted command from two generals. Work multiplied with spring. Fences leaned. The tractor coughed. Bills gathered, quiet as crows, along a fence after long winters. Anna kept lists tucked under a magnet, penciled plans to stretch flour, cure rust, and schedule mercy for lean weeks. She sang old lullabies while chopping wood. Rose harmonized softly. Lily invented drum beats using pots and metal spoons for accompaniment. Some evenings Daniel lingered near the doorway, listening, hands remembering dance positions they once hid beneath grief's heavy overcoat before. He'd look away when Anna noticed, pretending the weather fascinated him, though the skies were stubbornly ordinary that particular week. At market, whispers clung like burrs, widow moving fast, men desperate, children confused, everyone certain about strangers they barely knew. Anna kept her chin level, eyes soft, fingers steady on apples, teaching dignity the same way recipes travel between generations. Daniel paid in exact bills, jaw tight, then carried bags in stubborn silence back to the truck, without explanations offered. In the cab, Lily asked if rumors were like weeds, and Rose asked how often weeds lied about sunlight anyway. You pull them early, Daniel answered, but you leave the roots if they're actually holding the hill against spring storms. One night, lightning stitched white scars across the fields. Power died, and the house breathed candlelight again for their comfort. Anna arranged mugs like constellations and told stories about kitchens that survived wars because songs remembered measurements during hungry winters. Rose traced candle halos with her finger. Lily shadow puppeted rabbits. Daniel listened as hesitation thinned into the gentle hum nightly. After the storm, they checked fences. In fallen branches, they found a nest. Unbroken, miracle small, necessary to believe again. Anna lifted it gently back, hands sure, and Daniel realized trust returns exactly like that. Careful, practiced, humble, every day. They set routines like stones across a creek, stepping shore from morning chores to lessons after lunch with patient feet. Anna taught fractions with biscuits, grammar with letters to imaginary cousins, and forgiveness with mended seams whenever tempers flared slightly. Daniel repaired gates and learned to check homework, pencil behind ear, pretending not to love rhyming dictionaries quite this much. Some Wednesdays he brought ice cream, counting coins twice, and the twins bargained sprinkles against bedtime stories with theatrical sighs. Anna laughed into her sleeve, feeling the sound surprise her. Remembering laughter doesn't mean forgetting, just surviving through softer seasons. A letter arrived from Daniel's brother, offering work out west, better pay, fewer debts, longer absences than anyone wanted again. Daniel stared at the page while coffee cooled, considering numbers, costs, and a loneliness already measured previously too many times. Anna said nothing first, because wisdom sometimes waits, then asked whether money outweighs bedtime songs and summer tomatoes at dusk. Rose drew 2 suitcases on scrap paper, labeling one empty and one heavy, and carried them around thoughtfully before breakfast. Lily taped the heavy one by the door, announcing democracy had spoken. Daniel laughed until something uncoiled within his chest. Spring leaned into summer. The creek loosened its voice. Tomatoes blushed. The tractor finally behaved, mostly after careful coaxing sessions. Lily learned to whistle. Rose mastered braids. Anna discovered mornings taste different when someone sets another cup nearby each dawn. Daniel surprised himself by singing along to the radio, low enough that only the sink heard everything, including old regret. Neighbors softened, too. Kindness travels faster than gossip. Once children's laughter starts carrying like church bells across evening fields nearby. Sunday brought potlucks, and Anna's bread disappeared first. Daniel learned pride can be useful, served sliced with orchard butter sometimes. Then fever came for Rose, thin and stubborn, the kind that paints cheeks and steals appetite quietly for 2 days. Anna cooled cloths, coaxed sips, hummed until midnight, carrying worry between breaths, the way mothers do when shadows press close. Daniel paced the hallway, measuring fear in steps, remembering hospitals, remembering promises, asking walls for mercy and whispering prayers again. At dawn, Rose's fever broke, and Lily fell asleep sitting upright, guardian exhausted, a toy rabbit sentry beside her pillow. Daniel covered them both, then found Anna sleeping on the floor, back against the bed, hand extended toward Rose's fingers. He knelt, touching her sleeve, understanding in an instant the difference between help and home, distance and belonging at last. When she woke, stiff and sheepish, he only said thank you, and the words landed gentler than rain that morning. Days later, he asked her story, quietly, while shelling peas, letting silence carry the weight between them on the porch. She spoke of empty apartments, jobs that ended, friends thinning, the way grief folds maps and erases directions you held. He listened without fixing, then told her about nights rocked by infant cries, and months stitched survival tight across hard seasons. Summer leaned toward harvest. The mornings crisped, fields shone. The twins' sandals retired beneath beds like trophies of conquered trails. Anna counted jars cooling on towels, satisfaction sealing lids as futures, one practical click at a time in the kitchen. Daniel found himself bringing flowers he pretended were for the table, then leaving them where her hands worked most afternoons. Lily announced the house had new weather home year forecast, chance of hugs, and Rose drew charts approvingly using crayons and stickers today. That evening, Daniel asked whether Hope could live here permanently, and Anna said yes before fear interrupted, pressing old alarms. He reached for her hand, rough palms meeting flour-dusted fingers, and the porch learned a new creak during twilight conversations. They didn't rush. Grief and trust share borders, and crossing requires permits stamped by time, patience, and kindness each day. Neighbors, sensing weather, arrived with casseroles named congratulations, though nobody used the word engagement. Not yet, because hearts whispered softly. Anna sewed new curtains from old shirts. The light approved, scattering lemons across the floorboards every afternoon like happy coins. Daniel built a bookshelf for the twins' treasures, then quietly left a spare shelf empty, future ready for unexpected library arrivals. Autumn hustled in with backpacks, homework lists, and the first cold that discovered everyone's noses overnight during windy weekends together. At parent night, a teacher pulled Daniel aside, praising the girl's confidence, kindness, and ceaseless curiosity in every classroom moment. He blushed, muttered about help at home, and the teacher smiled knowingly, having decoded happiness disguised domestically as ordinary meals. On the drive back, Lily held certificates like trophies, while Rose planned a thank-you pie schedule for supportive neighbors soon. Anna pretended not to cry, which fooled nobody. Gratitude sometimes leaks out through surprise and laughter during kitchen cleanup time. Winter pressed its cold forehead against windows, and the farmhouse taught everyone the math of blankets stacked high at bedtime. Daniel cut extra firewood. Anna stocked soups. The twins invented snow chores like inspecting icicles for sparkle before Coco breaks indoors. When storms isolated the lane, neighbors traded phone calls, and the party line sounded like village bells in drifting snow. One night, the generator failed. Daniel cursed gently. Anna fetched tools. Lily held flashlights. Rose consulted manuals for useful diagrams. Together, they resurrected humming power, then stood laughing, triumphant, while toast popped like celebratory fireworks above nighttime kitchen victory banners. On New Year's Eve, they wrote wishes on paper strips and fed them safely to the wood stove for brave beginnings. Daniel wished for steadiness. Anna wished for belonging. Lily wished for trampoline. Rose wished everyone stayed healthy all year. They stayed up until 9, which counts as midnight when you measure miracles instead of ticking clocks during winter breaks. After bedtime, Daniel brought out a small box, ring hidden beneath receipts, doubts, and a dry flower from last summer. He closed it again, choosing patience, deciding proposals deserve daylight and the unambiguous applause of children during warm breakfasts tomorrow. Morning arrived with pancakes, extra syrup, and a sky pretending spring was closer than calendars suggested honestly to anyone watching. Daniel cleared his throat, which made Lily giggle, and Rose straighten like a librarian hearing misplaced whispers during morning stories. He spoke about promises that stretched through seasons, about teamwork, about love, choosing presence instead of perfection every single time. Anna's eyes brightened. The twins clapped spontaneously. He set the ring between syrup halos and asked, "Will you marry me?" Yes arrived like sunlight. Lily declared an immediate parade. Rose scheduled pie. Breakfast graduated into celebration entirely before chores resumed. They married beneath the old oak. Neighbors gathered, quilts draped along hay bales, vows spoken slowly enough for everyone listening. Lily scattered wildflowers with methodical chaos. Rose carried rings like a scientist handling fragile, luminous discoveries with steady, careful steps. Daniel promised to keep building shelves for future stories and to dance whenever music found their kitchen after supper dishes. Anna promised patience, honesty, and extra cinnamon on difficult mornings, because sweetness helps even stubborn weather soften around hungry hearts. They kissed, and the oak approved, letting down a sun-sieved blessing that rested warmly on everyone's shoulders all afternoon long. Life did not turn perfect. Roofs still leaked, trucks still argued, chickens still plotted coups against fences on windy Tuesdays. But the house kept learning new songs, and the table learned new elbows, and comfort learned their names by heart. Anna added a calendar of tiny holidays: first ripe tomato, sock without hole, Tuesday without tears after bedtime, because joy multiplies. Daniel taught the twins waltz steps on Saturdays, counting softly, humming radio memories, spinning until dizziness giggled into couch cushions. Evenings, they read aloud, pausing for questions, letting silence answer sometimes, because silence knows difficult answers better than speeches often. One afternoon, a storm-stranded travelers and an older couple knocked, wet and apologetic, asking for shelter until roads cleared. They were fed, warmed, and given quilts. They left stories in exchange, and blessings heavier than raindrops on departing dawns. Afterward, Lily said, "Hospitality feels like discovering cousins," and Rose wrote instructions titled, "Welcoming without getting overwhelmed for future storms." Anna taped them inside the pantry door, beside recipes, because both require measuring and faith when unexpected guests arrive hungry. Daniel added an extra hook for borrowed coats, announcing the farmhouse had decided to expand its pockets during colder weather. In spring again, they planted a small orchard, future pies rooted, patience watered, hope mulched beneath straw and careful prayer. Rose named every sapling after constellations. Lily insisted on labeling a stubborn one after bravery itself for family good luck rituals. Anna taught grafting, explaining how two lives grow stronger when joined, if cuts are clean and tended with steady hands. Daniel stood beside her, recognizing himself in the metaphor, grateful for the careful work already done to mend damaged roots. They promised the trees shade someday, while the twins promised pies, which might be the better covenant to remember always. Years will pass, and this day will shrink, but the house will keep telling the long version at every birthday. It will remember rain, lantern light, and a stranger asking to cook, then cooking up something larger than survival alone. It will remember twins grinning crumbs, and a cautious man learning how to unclench without breaking because hands softened first. It will remember candles, fever broken, and the moment Ness returned, taught everyone the method for trust again gently. Mostly, it will remember laughter rediscovered, not loud but lasting. The soundtrack stitched through ordinary mornings and softened evenings together. If asked how the widow became mother, the twins will answer slowly, with details, like careful librarians of family history. She knocked during rain. We were hungry. She fed us first, then kept feeding every ache afterward with patient meals. Dad says home is where repairs repeat joyfully, and where goodbyes get bored and leave forever because welcomes linger longer. Mom says belonging tastes like warm bread, sounds like lullabies, and looks like hands reaching without hesitation whenever storms threaten. I say love is this farmhouse breathing slower now, and 4 chairs filled, and future pies promised always for everyone.